an enemy out there and he can put his finger on them.
Okay, since no one's answering my question, I'm going to answer it myself. It's a bullshit purity test. BDS is a bullshit purity test by people who want to appear woke but actually slept through history class.
That's true.
Thank you. It's predicated on this notion. I think it's very shallow thinking that the Jews are in Israel mostly white and the Palestinians are browner, so they must be innocent and correct, and the Jews must be wrong. As if the occupation came right out of the blue, that this completely peaceful people found themselves occupied. Forget about the intifada's and the suicide bombings and the rockets and how many wars. And let me read, Omar Barghouti is one of the co-founders of the movement. His quote, "No Palestinian, rational Palestinian, not a sellout Palestinian, will ever accept a Jewish state in Palestine." So that's where that comes from. This movement, someone who doesn't even want a Jewish state at all. Somehow this side never gets presented in the American media. It's very odd.
Well, I think it's absolutely become one of these litmus tests inside the hard progressive movement now, that they need the enemies of Trump and before that the enemies of Bush. You know, they looked at hard progressives looked at Israel as a strong ally for both Trump and for Bush prior to that. And so it's been brewing a long time. This has been coming up into the, sort of percolating up to the progressive left for a long time. And I think you're right. It is largely ahistorical. It does not focus on the fact that there are two players in this dance and two sets of behaviors in this dance you got to look at.
What he said. No, but I do think you're right on the ahistorical part. People don't understand history anymore. I mean, the entire...
Well, shouldn't that come into play? Why aren't we saying it then? I don't get it.
I mean, I think that we explain, you know, I work for the New York Times, you know, we tend to explain the history of this conflict, but I think people, when they see Netanyahu, and you know, the Democrats in Washington are still really mad about that speech that, remember when John Boehner invited him and sort of went around Obama, and they just feel that this administration's been playing.
I mean, Saudi Arabia wouldn't let Jews into the kingdom. I'm not sure they still do.
They don't.
They don't?
No.
Okay. Isn't that something? I mean, I have a list here of Jews in the Middle East prior to 1948. Morocco, there was 250 to 350,000. These are a little old statistics, but last tally 2,500. Iraq had 150,000. In 03, they had 34. Tunisia had 100,000, and they had 900. Egypt had 75 to 80,000, then 40. Iran had 150,000, then 9,000. It's not a one-way street here, is it? And Congresswoman Omar has said things like, it's all about the Benjamins. Israel has hypnotized the world. May Allah awaken the people and help them see the evil doings of Israel. She apologized for it, but it's out there. Jews control the world. Jews control the money. Right. I can see why they don't get a hero's welcome.
And it presents a really major challenge for the Democratic Party because the vast majority of Democratic members of the House of Representatives would very much share your views on this movement. But now there are these two new young members who have significant support among the progressive base who are making the case for the BDS movement, and that's extremely challenging for Nancy Pelosi. It's extremely challenging for the moderate Democrats who flipped the House in part because they persuaded Republican voters that the Democratic Party was the more moderate party, and it's something that's going to be a major challenge for the Democratic Party